violence growing up in a house full of turmoil with my parents. And then, my mother abandoning the family due to those domestic violence situations with my father, which left me and my siblings to raise ourselves. And then it just goes from there, growing up, being bullied, um, fighting in school. My family is of mixed race, so we had to deal with that, um, being teased, and me going off to college and dating an older guy, and he was physically abusive, and it just, it goes from there. And it led to me, coping. One of my coping mechanisms was really starving myself, trying to stay slim. And then the other coping mechanism was for me to start to drink alcohol, cocktail hour every day, it just led to really abusing myself, trying to cope with all my life issues. And the book, this first one, really gives you a play-by-play of different stages of my life. I was married a few times. I have some children. Talk about how those situations worked out and how I eventually tried to commit suicide. And God saved me. He woke me from this handful of pills that I had taken. And from that day on, I decided to change my life through therapy and um, just a whole plethora of, being really spiritual, going to church, and a bunch of things that helped me to change my life around. And ever since then, life has been good.
So I have a question. Because usually, like when people write memoirs and we read their painful, traumatic situations, we see the things that they have gone through.
Mhm.
Um, what was that one kind of like thing that said, you know what, I gotta get my life together. This is not it.
It was a series of um there was a time frame where uh I had left a marriage. I had gotten divorced, and I kind of was out there on my own, and I was dating a guy who somewhat, I guess because of the love that he had for me, he would point out my behavior to me. He talked to me about, do you understand that your behaviors when you drink, you change to this, you're somewhat mean. You're very mean. You're mean to me, you're mean to your children. Do you even realize that? And I fought that for the longest. I had to really think about that. Like, what do you mean? Because once you get into drinking and drugs and stuff, you become another person and you don't realize it. But
Mhm.
really, your children are, for me, I have three daughters. My daughters really started to rebel and didn't want to be around me. And they didn't confront me per se. They just didn't want to be around me. And that's really started the beginning of me saying, "Oh, let me check myself." I mean, this man, I don't really care about this man saying what he's saying, but let me think about what my daughters are saying or doing. And that's when I got so clouded and confused, and just at that point I didn't know what I needed to do to change that. And that's when I said, you know what, I'm just tired. I can't do it. I don't want to work. I want to deal with my kids. I don't want to deal with my husbands, my ex-husbands, my man. I can't take it. That's when I got to the suicidal part. But once God woke me up from that, I said, you know what, I got to do whatever it takes to get myself together. So stop drinking, number one, get a therapist, number two, work on my physical existence, my, work out, start going to church, a series of things to uplift myself.
Right.
And once I did that, I started feeling so much better about me. I started loving me. And once I started loving me, then my girls were proud and my family was proud. And, just everybody, my whole vibe was just high vibrations after that. And I realized I had lost myself.
Yeah.
And I came back and my mind was clear.
How did you navigate? Because sometimes I feel that we don't know what we don't know. And then at the same time, when we know we have a feeling that we're supposed to be doing something, and then when we try to do that, it's this crowd or these people that say, you know what, why do you need to go to therapy? What you need to like that negative energy and noise. So how did you pull yourself away from that negativity and just say, you know what, I think or I know I'm supposed to be doing this. So let me go over here. How did you go through that journey?
You know what? I stayed close to God. I stayed in prayer every day. And, if we all, and again, I don't know what people's religions are or how spiritual they are, but if you know you're close to God, you feel it. I tell people all the time, God talks to me in my dreams. If I'm confused about something or I need to make decisions or whatever, I pray it. I ask for change. I ask for what I want. And then I get quiet and I wait. And God will come to me in my dream. And then when I wake up, again, it's that same thing that makes me know that that was God who saved me. I have these ideas, I have these behaviors. I know exactly how to navigate once I get these messages from God. And I started to realize I gotta lose people. The people who I may have been hanging around, maybe some coworkers who always are going out for cocktail hour, maybe, family members. Like I had to get to a point where I was so strong in knowing that I'm this new person. God has given me another chance. I just started to not care about what people are saying or thinking or doing, just doing me.
Do you have any questions? I don't want to take up the whole time. I have a lot of questions. Anybody want to ask anything? Go ahead.
Did anybody else? Jordan, did you read the book?
I didn't read the book, but I'm gonna read it after.
That's fine.
Uh,
You still can ask a question.
um,
Are you an author, Jordan?
no, I'm not. I'm not.
Mhm.
Are
Well,
you thinking about it?
Um, maybe writing something would be interesting.
um, I had because I was reading through your chapter two, and I was like, do we telling the same story? Because I had the similar story to you, realizing that my mom was physically in the house, but I feel that when a person is like emotionally and mentally not there,
Mhm.
it doesn't even matter if their physical body is there. So that's what I had.
Yeah.
And I was a latchkey kid and I had to take my brothers and sisters to school. So I'm like, but back then I think it was more of a thing where we were just free. But I wouldn't dare like have my kids be walking around now.
Sherry, I think
Yeah.
about that all the time, right? I go back in my head. And of course you guys gotta know to write a book. You gotta write it, you gotta edit it, you gotta reread it and reread it and reread it. So it's always in your head. And then now you gotta talk about it, right? But those are the very things, Sherry, that I think about. Like there is no way I could have just let my kids just come and go with the key and be at home and cook dinner. Like now there's some point where when they got older, And my girls are spread apart. So one of my daughters is 34, and then the next daughter is 27. So there's a gap, um, well, 7, 8 years, right?
Mhm.
So they never really were in school together and stuff. So that older daughter, her father was really good, uh, and his family in supporting me with daycare and schools and all that. So she was good. But then the other two came along, and then my other daughters, so 27 and 23. So they were kind of close. So that older one took care of the younger one. Um, but I would pay for aftercares. I would leave work early, adjust my schedule. Like, there's no way I could just have my kids out here, doing everything. But it was the times, right? It was
When
the
you
time.
also,
It was it was the era.
yeah, you're gonna come in the house eventually.
But look at
Sure.
all of the aftermath
Yeah.
of that.
Oh yeah.
And um a part of me growing and freeing myself, I had to forgive my parents,
Mhm.
right? I had to forgive them. I mean, they were young, they were doing the best they could, they were in situations, um, they had a lot of trauma growing up. So they were really suffering. And we talk about it now. Both of my parents are still alive. I'm actually supporting my dad now. He actually has lung cancer, and so I've been
Mhm.
with him, taking him to doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And it's not easy. It's not easy to take care of parents that didn't take care of you.
Right. That is right. Let's
Yeah,
take some questions. Is it Shelly?
Yeah.
So Shelly's, you want to ask a question?
let's see. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
If
good.
you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell her?
Do not drink. No drinking, no drugging. And Shelly, the thing about that is what, like I was just saying to Sherry. So we had alcohol in the house. It was just a thing. My dad kept alcohol, we had a full bar all the time. And then he wasn't at home. So there was no parenting. We had to parent ourselves. So of course we see my dad and his friends, and even before then, even before my mom left, that's what they did, right? They drank and smoked cigarettes and had parties, house parties. That's what they did back then. But if I could go back, I wouldn't have ever, ever, ever started to drink, because the drinking became my friend. Does that make sense? When I was alone and mentally stressed and just feeling bad about life or things or situations that I had gotten myself in, my friend was a nice bottle of a glass of wine, a martini, And then the other thing is, I used to like the glasses. I would buy all these beautiful glasses, and it just became a friend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, I do, I do that with tea and coffee,
Mhm.
but they're not as bad. But I have those glasses too.
Yes. And listen, I'm never ashamed to say I drank alcohol. I mean, every now and then I still will have prosecco mixed in with some juice just to hold a champagne flute when everybody else is toasting, right? But the thing about it is, I don't get drunk, I don't get vicious, I don't get all this, because I know how to deal with my issues now. My mental doesn't go into some far off place where I can't function. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And people have other things. People gamble, people shop, people eat, people have these vices, and we all do, as coping mechanisms, and we all have stories. And we all have stuff that we've been through. And you know, I'm just proud and happy to testify with my story, right? Because maybe my story, maybe you see something in me that you can identify with in yourself and be like, oh, but she got through it. I can get through it. Or she changed her life. I can change my life. And that's the purpose. That's the purpose. I freed myself and I do book tours and book signings and I talk to people at churches and I've been a part of programs in the Charlotte area high school systems and the health classes talking about domestic violence, teen dating, stuff like that. I mean, this is my mission. And I never, I'm not a teacher by trade. I'm a businesswoman. I'm, an accountant. I'm an office manager. I'm an event planner. I do all these other things. I never thought I would be in a high school teaching a 10th grade class about teen dating, domestic violence issues, and how to love each other and how to love
I,
yourself.
I think God uses us not with our strengths, but with our weaknesses.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think people that try and show who they are by their strengths lose that vulnerability and humanity. And so I applaud your courage to share.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Shelley.
You're welcome.
Listen, when I was going through the process of writing this book, and Sherry knows this, I wanted to quit so many times. I didn't want to do it. Like I would get these really nervous, frustrating feelings. I didn't want to do it. I'm like, you know what? I would get frustrated. And Sherry would talk to me. She would get to me. She would go hard on me and be like, nah, you got to tell the story. And I would cry. I had really had I tried to put it down so many times, but God was saying, nope, you're gonna tell this story because I got a purpose. There's a purpose that I let you live. You have a purpose. And so I had to keep going. And then next thing you know, I had a second book. Yeah.
I just had a question. She asked you, at what point in your life did you decide to write the book?
Wait, at what point in my life did what?
Did you decide to write the book? The
Oh,
first.
well, that's kind of a trick question. Um, as life was progressing, and I'll go back to just say 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old, going through these random scenarios, right? People would say to me, you should write a book because you got a lot going on. You should write a book. And at first, and I'm talking about years ago, I would be like, what do you mean? Like I'm not gonna tell all my business. I'm not putting my business out in the street. I'm not telling my family stuff. What do you mean? I'm not writing a book. And then as time went on, because I would journal. I was taught to journal, get the ideas and thoughts out of my head, whatever it was. If I was feeling sad or happy or stressed or whatever, write it down. Write my dreams, my goals, my wishes, write it down. And so I started to think to myself, oh, I'm already writing a book. So about I want to say in 2012, a friend of mine hired me to help him. So he wrote a book about his life, and he hired me to put together a book signing event in Washington, D.C. And we did at Bus Boys and Poets. I don't know if they have, I don't wherever you are, I don't know if they have that. But Bus Boys and Poets is a creative space, restaurant, event place. They do a lot of poetry and just singing and artwork and books and everything. And it was amazing. And as I watched him move around, I'm like, and I knew him from years before. I'm like, oh, if he could write a book, I could write a book. I was saying that to myself. If he could do it, I could do it. And a few months after that, I started to write my book on just on the laptop in the Word document. Started from the beginning. I was born on such and such and such a date, right? And so I did that for years, and then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't even know what else to write, so I'm going to put it down. And then in 2021, well, in 2020, I moved from Washington, D.C. to Charlotte, North Carolina for the second time. And on Juneteenth in 2021, I went to this event, and it was still COVID. And so everybody was outside. Everybody was happy to go to all these different festivals outside. And I passed a table, a family, a husband, wife, and two sons. And they had all these books, spread all out. And I'm like, oh wow, what is this? And I'm like, are you guys selling the books? Did you write the books? What? And they're like, yeah, we're a whole family. We all write. And I'm like, whoa, even the kids? And they're like, yeah, look at these kids' books. And it just blew my mind. And again, if they could do it, I could do it. That came to my mind again. And so the guy, he actually had a publishing house in Charlotte. And so he's like, hey, call me, come talk to me. I can help you write your book. And so I did, probably like a month later. And I went and talked to him, and he's like, so give me your manuscript. And I'm like, well, I don't really have a manuscript. Like, I have a Word document, but it's not really a manuscript. And he's like, oh, well, I can help you with the publishing piece. And he was like, so do your manuscript and come back and see me. And then probably another month later, I was at my hairstylist, and she said, have you written that book yet? Because I knew her from years ago. And I'm like, it's funny you saying that because I met somebody. And she's like, yeah, but I know these amazing ladies in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to give you the number. So call her, and she's going to help. She's going to help you write your book. And I was like, okay. And then again, another month went by, and it probably was September. So from June to September. And I finally called the young lady in Atlanta. I don't know can I say her name? Tamika Newhouse, Delphine Legacy Media. And, I had a conversation, and we just talked, and she asked me what my why was. And it just was a good conversation. And I said, really, it's just really therapy for me to tell my story, just release all this trauma and drama. And she was like, okay, but you're a businesswoman. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so show me what you got. And I sent my document in, it's like all this pages of stuff. And she's like, yeah, no. I can help you get organized, write your manual. We have wonderful editors. We got a team of folks that can help you put everything together. And that was in 2021. And we started writing. So I would write, she assigned an editor to me. I would write, I outlined it. They helped me outline it, and I would write, every week I would write a chapter, and then we would edit it, and then I would write a chapter, and then we would edit it, and it just went on like that. So by 2022, actually early spring 2022, my book manuscript was finished. And then they pushed me on to the artist, and then they pushed me on to the marketing and like that, and then my book was released in October. So that was a long answer, but it wasn't instant. It had been happening all along. I had to keep living. Thank you, Jess.
So as a person that I've written my own memoir, but I also help people write their memoirs. I can tell when a person is not ready to release their book. So some people just want to do it just to get it away, and that's not how it works. And it shouldn't work like that. You have to be in a space where you're okay to have this out in the world, right? Because if you're just telling a story and then putting out in the world, we do know that people are going to criticize. They're going to either like it or they're not. So by the time you decide to tell the story, you have to have um be okay with yourself to say, you know what, I did this and it is what it is, and nobody could tell me anything because this is my truth. If you're not in that space and you just release your book, you're gonna be very it's gonna be a very depressing time and moment because like I said, people are going to criticize and people are mean on on social media. We all know this.
Yeah.
Um so when Carla and I met, I was like, you ready to tell your story? She said yes. Um, she gave me a hard time, y'all. But, I was like, you know what? I know why you're giving me a hard time. It's scary. It's very scary to release your first book. It's very scary to navigate through social media. Very scary to market your first book, especially if you're doing it by yourself. So she was working with a team of people. If you're doing it alone, it's even more scary.
Yeah.
Uh, So I understood why she was giving me a hard time. I was there, been there, done that.
Yep.
So I'm like, listen, Carla, this ain't my first rodeo, okay? So I, I was very patient with her, and I got it. We got it. And I was like, just trust me, just listen, just try this. Um, and she's here, and now she's in book two. So trusting the process is what we have to do, whether you decide to buy the book or not. Whatever you're going through, trust the process. Nothing in your life that you go through is in vain.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, when we share our stories and memoirs, the reason and the purpose that people read them is because they are looking for hope, right? They're going through something and they're looking for someone to tell them you're going to be okay. But they don't get that in their own support. So they're reading other people's stories.
Yeah.
So, like, when you put out a book, and like, oh, why are people putting out memoirs? People just being nosy. It's not just to be nosy. They're looking for something. They're looking for encouragement. They're looking for hopeful. They're looking to see, how did you get out that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a person who reads a lot of memoirs and biographies. Like I always have. I'm very interested in other people's stories. And that's something that I know that I know that I know, right? Um, especially with celebrities. You know, they went through something to get to where they are. They didn't just all of a sudden become, right? And I've been around a lot of famous people in my life, and it's just like I'm not starstruck. It's because again, you've been living and going through stuff. You chose a path, and you became and things worked out for you. And I don't get starstruck. I really want to know your story though. I want to know, like, if you, and I don't know if you guys are reading people's stories, but man, I have read some amazing stories like Viola Davis, per se, right? Wow. She has been through hell and back and hell and back and hell and back. Growing up from childhood. Um, I have a group of wonderful women that I'm around, or in my network, in my circle. And one of them does she started an organization called Trauma to Triumph. And she does an IG live and she goes on and people come on and tell their stories. I mean, people have been through things, so I'm not the only person who's been in a house with violent parents. I'm not the only person who's been abandoned. I'm not the only person who has personally experienced domestic violence. Hey, I've been to jail. Like things have happened, but you hear people's stories. A lot of stories start from young in the household. That's where a lot of trauma starts. And some people just get, some people are just in their own head. They don't know how to, they don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to tell their family secrets because a lot of times we're taught what goes on in the house stays in the house. And so just to help somebody else free themselves. That's the win. That's the win. Because we all should be able to love ourselves. We should all be able to exist in a happy place, whatever that is, wherever that is. Happy here. Does that make sense to everybody? Happy, I don't know if everybody can see me, but happy in your head, mentally. Going through physical fighting and stuff, which I have, and I've had bruises and all kind of things. The mental. I mean, you guys see what's happening right now on the daggone Diddy and Cassie and all the things that are happening. That lady is mentally messed up from the things that have happened to her. And even guys, I'm not just saying for women, men too. Yeah, like he was messed up for and probably been through crazy trauma and drama in his life. And so we gotta get past it. We gotta work through it. We gotta go to church. We gotta get some mental psychological clinical therapy. Um, some people get help through their coaches, their teachers. Be open to receive, to hear, to receive that love that you matter. We all matter.
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people, when they look at you and they look at me and they look at like successful people, they're looking at us now. Whether they know us or don't know us, they're just like, oh, she has this, he has this, and this is what, and they're just so lucky. And I was like, it only do luck had nothing to do with it. It was just at some point in a lot of people's lives, we all said enough is enough. Like this, what I'm doing right now, this ain't it. I know I said that too.
Yeah.
Like there has to be something better in life. I can't be sitting here looking at these four walls. I can't be sitting here on the floor. Woe is me. Um, and I think that, like you said, I like reading people's stories too. And there is in everybody's story different circumstances that this ain't it point.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here. I need to make some money.
Yeah.
This, So I think that resilience and that is strength is what helps people to recognize there's something's wrong here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that by sharing our stories, the first thing is we as Black people have a lot of historical and intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
But this is what we don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But by sharing our stories, other people can see the patterns and behavior of our stories and say, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think that going on too. Maybe that ain't right.
Yes.
Because we normalize certain things and it's just like, that ain't what other people got going on in their house. And
Yeah.
then when you get the good stuff, we don't accept the good stuff without yelling, right? He
Yeah.
don't love me if he don't yell or he don't hit me.
Yeah.
That's not right.
No.
So I think that that's one of the first things that we all need to start doing, recognizing and realizing like, that don't sound right. That's just not um so I think that, sharing your story, was there a point in my life where I was ashamed of stuff? Of course, we all do some shameful, silly stuff in life.
Yeah.
But most of it is because we don't know.
Yeah.
Or, as children, is learned behavior. We just learn to do it. And
Yeah.
like Carla said, growing up in a certain time, I was born in 83. Ain't nobody watching you. You watching them and picking up habits and doing things, or they invite you over to do whatever they're doing. So nobody's really policing you. You're doing whatever you want, watching whatever you want, reading whatever you want.
Yeah.
So there was no like now, I'm more mindful to watch my children on social media, more mindful to watch what they're digesting book wise, movie wise, TV wise.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, whatever. So just looking at the time difference or the generation differences,
Yeah.
and I really think that for the younger generation coming up, that we really need to, I feel like certain generations gatekeep if that they, because there's some things that, you know, certain generations, they know that certain things is going to happen. They're not sharing or telling like the younger girls. So now you got all these young girls doing all these things, and we're not saying to them, you know what happens if you have a baby as a teenager? You're somebody's mother. It's
Yeah.
not a doll. It's not you. It's a baby.
You know what? I'm so glad you're saying that because I think this is God. I get the younger generation. So my daughters, I told you they're in a certain age group, but I also get other younger women. I'm just gonna say women, but sometimes guys too, because like I said, I was teaching in the high school, um, who get drawn to me. And hey, when you get drawn to me, I'm spitting some knowledge all day long. If you don't want to hear some truth, because I only know how to tell the truth and my story and what happened. And if you do not believe it, try your own hand. Because certain things are going to happen. If this, 1 + 1 = 2. We know that. Whether it's me, you. If you do that, it's going to lead to that. That's it. That's all. So believe me, even my children, my daughters will come back and say, Mom, remember when you told me such and such and such? It happened. And I'm like, oh, okay. And what'd you learn from that? Well, maybe I'll listen to you sometimes, right? And sometimes it's harder to, when you're dealing with your own children. But I do get a lot of younger people who are in my circle, and I just spit knowledge. But I wanted to say the other thing, and I feel like Jess may have asked this when she was asking about when did I decide to write the book. This goes along with that. One thing that almost kept me from releasing the book, and I think this happens with a lot of people too. If you tell your story, you somewhat got to tell somebody else's story. And in my case, it implicates my daddy, it implicates my mother, it implicates my siblings, it implicates some ex-husband, it implicates some people. Now, I didn't dig all into, I was very nice in the book. Let me just say that. I was very nice in the book. And Sherry and the other ladies, they helped me to, and this is the purpose of having an editor. So they can help you pretty up some of the stories, right? So yes, you're gonna read some stuff. And it happened. Now it may not be exactly, but in general, it happened. But to tell your story, you gotta tell somebody else's story. And that wasn't easy. And that was one of the other things that almost kept me from releasing it, just like for fear of what people were going to say. And so in the book, you guys are going to well, you don't know, but in the book, the names are not the real names. And Sherry keeps calling me Carla because that is my birth name. I just created my author name, my pen name, Truly Maxine. So now I'm known as Truly Maxine in the world of publishing. And a lot of friends that I have, they know me to be Truly Maxine. And I created that name. And if you read this second book, you'll understand how and why, because I explain it in the book. And it feels good. And the names came from generational females in my family. But you can I was having a conversation earlier before I even got on the Zoom about telling your story. It doesn't have to be in a book. I have friends who are coaches of Pee Wee football, and they go and they gather the kids and they coach them, and they say, listen, I came from the street, I was doing this and I was doing that, and I worked my way up, and I understand, life at home is not the best, but keep going. You know, they donate money to children in the community. They do these football and basketball leagues, and they tell their stories by being there in the community and supporting people. I have another friend who actually he's my client and my brother, and he's I wrote about him in the first book. He's a retail mogul now, tennis shoes and high fashion luxury retail. Um and he does these Nike videos as a part of his retail sales, and they create these videos, and some of the videos are about how he grew up in the projects and how he worked his way through, and now he's this famous, amazing person, right? So people can tell their stories in different ways. So I encourage everybody. Oh, getting back to the journaling piece, you can journal, write your feelings, your goals, your dreams, your trauma, write it down. It really helps you to clear your mind of those, because whether people admit it or not, and I used to laugh at this when people say, you know, or you might catch yourself talking out loud when you're by yourself. It's like, that person is crazy. You're really not crazy because you're constantly talking to yourself in your head. Now, I don't know if everybody acknowledges that, but I'm just saying those issues you may have going on or thoughts or whatever, write them down. It's a really great thing to do. It's a great practice. Tell your own story to yourself.
Um, Is the name Hodal? No, that's the name. That's your name. So I just wanted to answer your question. When you're writing a book, a lot of people don't think about readers.
Uh-huh.
They're not thinking about the readers. They're thinking about themselves and putting it out there. So writing a book is not just you doing it. It takes a team of people to actually write and publish a book.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be you on your own. There should be many eyes on your books, eyes that you can trust, eyes that are going to be honest, eyes that are going to criticize, constructively criticizing.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you right now that a lot of people don't know the writing craft. That is a talent that some people have. You either have the writing craft or you don't.
Mhm.
Most people don't have it. What they do have, again, is the team of people that have this skill. Right? But you learn.
Mhm.
So by her working with me, and I can say that I have the natural talent of writing. She works with me, and I can give her tips and tricks and tell her, hey, no, rewrite this. Hey, no, add this. Hey, no, add that. When you start taking those suggestions and um, listening to people that are reading your manuscript, that's how you learn how to get it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's kind of like art for a person that doesn't have the natural talent to write a book. Um, Most of us don't think about readers when we're writing. I know I don't think I when I write, I've been writing for 14 years. I don't think about readers. Um, when you're writing a memoir, that's totally different than fiction. So when you're writing fiction, you kind of know a little bit about your readers. So if you're writing, let's just say fantasy, you know that they might like fantasy movies or fantasy TV shows. So you kind of know what they like. But when we're talking about our own lives, we have no clue
Right.
what these people want. um,
Telling the
so
story. That's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
But if you're writing fiction work, you kind of, depending on the genre, you kind of have an idea what they want. Um, but when it's your own life, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that are writing memoirs, that's not your job to entertain people. Like my life is not. I didn't live my life to entertain you.
Mhm.
That's the job of a fiction writer. My job is to give you this story to educate you, motivate you, inspire you, something to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Not to entertain. I'm not entertaining it because this is my life, and I'm still living it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're not entertaining people. So that's kind of like what I wanted to tell you about the difference in the genres. So first you have to decide what genre are you writing. Then you'll figure out who the people are. But memo writing, that is just your story is your story. If they like it, they don't.
Were you responding to Kajal?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said? Yeah. So that was a great response, right? I'm reading what he wrote. Um, so my tip, because that's what he said. Can I provide tips? The tip is to find you a co-writer, an editor, somebody who can help you to shape that book and make it make sense. And because something that so I was great in English in school. Let me just say that. I was great in English, and like I said, I've been writing in my journals, and actually I wrote a book, or co-wrote a book when I was in junior high, and it won an award, and all of my life I've been writing, right? When I got with these ladies, these publishers, and this is just the truth, y'all, and I had typed up my story a lot of it. Just, I feel like I wrote the way I talk. So I'm talking to my sister or my friend or whatever. I'm just talking, right? So that's the way I wrote. But a great publisher, a great co-writer will help you to edit it, structure it, make it make sense so that the world, right? The world can understand it. And you don't have to know me, but it still has to make sense. It can't be jumbled writing on a page, right? So I would suggest you get some folks, a great person like Sherry or somebody who can help you if you're writing something like I did, a memoir, right? But even in the other spaces, the fiction, the nonfiction, other kind of genres, like she said, yeah, you're probably gonna have to get some help. That's my tip.
So even before, if you're not ready to publish, you can even get friends, but you gotta get the honest friends. You gotta get the friends that are gonna say, "Girl, this sucks." You got those are the people because there are people that will read your work and tell you, "It should be a movie." No, it should not be a movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you gotta have those really honest people and just be open to the honest criticism.
Yeah.
Um, I know that when I wrote my first children's book, and I shared it with the editor, and she was like, "What is this?" Because I'm not used to writing for kids. I don't write for children.
Yeah.
So of course it was too wordy, it was too lengthy, and she was just like, "No, it only could be 10 pages, and it can only have this small amount of time."
Yeah.
That was the most challenging thing that I had to do. Um, so you are going to be challenged as a writer to do things that you've never done before.
Yeah.
You're going to be challenged as a writer to do a lot of things. So um, challenge be um, exploring new things. You don't have to accept every thing that someone gives to you because sometimes you are who you are and you want to keep um you in the
Yeah.
story.
And,
And
and, and
that's fine.
yeah, and that happened with me. There were things that I just didn't want to change. Like I'm not changing that. That's what happened. That's what I was feeling. That's how I want the reader to feel it. And so yeah, there are things that you can perfectly say, no, I'm not doing that. But
But
in
be
general,
open. And I say be open because the people that are helping, like we've been there, done that. I
yeah.
can tell you right now, like sometimes I just tell people, I'm like, ain't nobody reading that. And I'm being honest because 14 years in here and imagine all the manuscripts that I've seen. It's just, but when I tell people and I constructively criticize, nobody's reading that. But if you do this and do this, change this, add this. So I constructively, like, I'll tell you what's wrong with it and give you tips, and I'm not just gonna tell you that, oh, this sucks, and send you on your way.
Yeah.
Don't get, if somebody does that, that's just a critique. We don't want critiques. We want constructive criticism. They have to tell you how to fix it.
Yeah. This is good, Sherry. Thank you so much. I've been for the past I don't know, I'm just gonna say 6 months, dealing with some health issues. And then, like I said, dealing with my family. And so I really have not been floating around and existing as Truly Maxine. But I'm always her. She's always here. She's always with me. At any given time, somebody can just say, "Hey, I read your book." And I'm just gonna go in, right? That's the beauty. This is you. This is who you are. This is lifelong. And I didn't do it for the money. People ask me that all the time. Like, oh my God, you should be out here marketing and la la la. Yeah, I should. I probably should do it more, right? I should do more speaking engagements. I should do all the things. And I do when I have time. I just haven't had time lately. But I'm always gonna be able to come show up somewhere like today. I'm happy to be here to tell my story. And there are times, there are things that I forgot. Like you have to say, "Hey, chapter 4, you wrote about da da da." It's like, let me go look, right? Because again, I'm on to the next thing. But my story is my story, and your story is your story.
So
So
when
tell
we're
it.
doing like writing memoirs with a purpose, we don't have to, the money's gonna come. I always make this comment, don't chase the money, chase the purpose. And people will be like, well, why don't you chase money? That's gonna come.
Yeah,
But you wanna go follow the purpose,
yeah,
right? You chase money, you're always gonna be chasing behind money. That's all you're gonna be doing. The purpose can get you into places like she said, she's not a teacher. How did she get into a classroom?
yeah.
Right? Uh,
Amazing.
Purpose gets you into places that I don't care how much money you got, you're not getting into that room, right? Is what is your purpose in life? She wrote this story. This is her purpose to share it, right? So whoever needs to hear it, those are the spaces and those are the rooms that is going to get her into the rooms. Not the money. And sometimes when you write your first book, you ain't gonna make no money. So if anybody thinks that money doesn't come off your first book
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Um, a lot of things you gotta do for free. You end up spending a lot of your own money
yeah.
in the beginning. So it's a sacrifice that you're willing to make, right? But you get your investment back. But
Listen.
that shouldn't be the main thing if this is your purpose in life, right?
Right. I get the investment back when people want to talk to me and I tell the story or they ask me questions or, that's the investment that I made in myself and I'm making it other people to the world, really.
Where can we find you?
Ah, well, I am on Amazon. Both books are on Amazon.com. So you can go look me up. And we wrote the first book in a way that it's going to lead you to have questions, which will lead you back to the second book. So, a lot of those questions you may have had will be answered in the second book. Um, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I have some reviews on Amazon. You guys can go check it out. Um, this is me. And people ask me, well, why are the faces purple? So purple is the color of a survivor, domestic violence. It's a great color. It's a symbol of my strength and my courage and my freedom of trauma recovery. And we had a great artist working to put this together. And even for the second book, I had this head scarf on, so you guys would kind of figure out like, oh, when you read the book, like, oh, why does she always wear scarves? It's just a part of who I am, a part of my style. But I've always had issues with my hair. of me not really liking my hair. And so, yeah, I hope you read it. And yes, you can find me on Instagram. There we go. I think it's the real Truly Maxine. The real Truly Maxine on Instagram. And I think I am on Facebook, Truly Maxine. Probably X. There's a TikTok out there, Truly Maxine as well. I have a website, www.trulymaxine.com. So I'm around. Follow me on IG. I will respond. I'm on IG every day. So send me a message after you read the book. Look through my pictures. As you're reading, you can go look on my website. I mean, on my Instagram, I have pictures of my daughter. So you'll know, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. There we go. The real Truly Maxine.
So thank you for joining us, Twyla. Make sure if you have read the book or you are going to read the book, make sure that you leave a review.
Yes.
Authors, we appreciate reviews, but most of all, they help other readers pick up our books as well.
Yeah.
So Carla, since you do have a second book, we would love to have you to discuss the second book too.
All right.
I believe we are booked until October.
Okay.
So we have started having authors come every month, but you can do what you did today, like a pop in.
Yeah. That would be awesome. I want to pop into some of the other authors.
You can either do one of our Sundays is one of our big main discussion with the bigger group, or you could just pop in. It will be your choice. But we'd love to have you back to discuss your second book.
That sounds so good. Thank you. Listen, November, December, plug me in.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You're welcome.